Listen, honey, I really hope you won't take this the wrong way. I just needed to talk to you about something.
Sure, what is it?
Yesterday, when I was walking out of the bathroom, I actually overheard your conversation with a friend.
What conversation?
You've mentioned that you wanted to convince David to sell this house.
Oh, right, that.
Do you really want to leave me with no place to go? I really wish that you were not talking about me.
I wasn't.
Then what was happening? I'm your mother in law. I live with you. I deserve to know.
Nothing was happening, Mary. Why are you accusing me of such horrible things?
I'm not at all. I'm just asking you a simple question.
You're accusing me of lying and being mean to you. How could you even eavesdrop on my conversation like that?
Please, don't get so emotional. Let's calm down and talk.
No, you're so controlling towards me all the time. You don't get how hard it is to be in my position. You had already been a financial burden to us. What more do you want from us?
Hi there. My name is Mary, and I'm a middle aged widow. I had been living with my son David, his wife Sarah, and my grandson Mac for the past 2 years. When my husband passed away, I felt really lost and alone. Living with my son and his family gave me a sense of comfort and security. However, things were not always rosy. I had always struggled to get along with Sarah. From the very beginning, I sensed that she was manipulative and a little controlling. She would often use her charm to get what she wanted, and I could never shake off the feeling that she was up to something. David, on the other hand, was always too busy with work to notice anything amiss. At first, Sarah's behavior was not too obvious because it was usually behind my back. She would also make snide remarks to neighbors about my age and my inability to keep up with Mac's need. Despite all this, I tried my best to keep the peace. I loved my grandson dearly and didn't want to cause any unnecessary tension or drama in the family. Plus, Sarah had never done anything too bad. I blamed her behaviors on the stress she had from work and hoped that one day things would all get better. But as time went by, my relationship with Sarah only got worse and worse. She often did things to make me uncomfortable, intentionally excluding my clothes when she did the family's laundry, or complaining about how she had to do everything around the house when I had forgotten to do a simple task. It was as if she was trying to make me feel like a burden in their home, and I felt like I needed to walk on eggshells around her. Looking back, I do realize that such an attitude was unacceptable because, for starters, I was mainly the homemaker. Both Sarah and David work full time, so I made it my responsibility to help around the house. I would cook meals, clean up the house, and take care of Mac while they were at work. All of that was not enough for my efforts to be appreciated by Sarah. It was quite hypocritical of her because Sarah didn't spend a lot of time with Mac. It was just me, David, and the poor kid most of the time. One day I overheard something that completely changed my perception of Sarah. I was walking out of the bathroom when I heard Sarah's whispers from the kitchen. She probably thought that I was still in the shower. It sounded like she was talking to her friend. No, listen. I'll convince him to sell this house. I've got a realtor ready and everything. He just needs to say yes. I want to move to Seattle and give Mac a better life here.
Yeah, oh, you're right. Yeah, honestly, if we could just leave her here, that would be the best.
I didn't know what she was talking about at first, but in just seconds I realized she might be mentioning me and the house we were living in at that moment. I was shocked since the house was originally under my husband's name, and it was meant to be for me and my family. After my husband passed away, he gave it to David. Sarah knew that the house was everything I had left. Of course, I had my pension to live off of, but that was not enough for buying another apartment. A wave of sadness washed over me as I realized that I might be forced to leave the only home I had known for the past 2 years. I couldn't believe that Sarah was capable of such a cruel act. After giving myself a few days to calm down and process my emotions, I decided to confront Sarah about her behavior. I sat her down one day and calmly explained how her actions made me feel. Listen, honey, I really hope you won't take this the wrong way. I just needed to talk to you about something.
Sure, what is it?
Yesterday, when I was walking out of the bathroom, I actually overheard your conversation with a friend on the phone.
What conversation?
You've mentioned that you wanted to convince David to sell this house.
Oh, right, that.
Do you really want to leave me with no place to go? I really wish that you were not talking about me.
I wasn't.
Then what was happening? I am your mother-in-law. I live with you. I deserve to know.
Nothing was happening, Mary. Why are you accusing me of such horrible things?
I'm not at all. I'm just asking you a simple question.
You're accusing me of lying and being mean to you. How could you even eavesdrop on my conversation like that?
Please, don't get so emotional. Let's calm down and talk.
No, you're so controlling towards me all the time. You don't get how hard it is to be in my position. You'd already been a financial burden to us. What more do you want from us?
And then she stood upright before storming out of the room. She had already bursted into tears, and I was left speechless. I couldn't even wrap my head around her accusation. She said that I was their financial burden, which was not true at all. I had been doing so many things around the house and paying for all the groceries. Sure, I didn't have to pay other bills, but wasn't it supposed to be a joint effort? I was tempted to run after Sarah and talk some sense into her, but Sarah was so emotional that I didn't think I could do that without making the situation worse. After the confrontation with Sarah, I knew that my time in their home was limited. I didn't feel comfortable living there anymore and wanted to leave as soon as possible. I decided to move in with my daughter Emily. She lived alone in a small apartment, but she was happy to take me in. I packed my things and said goodbye to Sarah and David. I didn't want to tell David the real reason I was leaving because I didn't want to cause a rift in their marriage. So I told him that I liked the neighborhood where Emily lived better. But I knew Sarah had a good idea of what was happening. Still, she didn't even try to apologize or make amends. But I was done with her toxic behavior. I left without looking back. Living with Emily was a much-needed change of pace. She had a peaceful and happy home, and I was grateful for the chance to be with my daughter. Plus, Emily never failed to show me how grateful she was that I always tried to help out around the house. I was so content with my life that I even joined a crochet club in the neighborhood. Things were really looking up for me. Soon, a few months had passed since I left Sarah and David's home. Life had been peaceful, and I was loving my new living situation. Mac's birthday was coming up, and Sarah had invited me to help her prepare for the celebration. I came early that day, but I realized that Sarah's attitude towards me had not changed. She was being very passive-aggressive with me the whole afternoon, and I couldn't understand why. David was busy with work, so I tried to look past it and focus on the task at hand. I helped Sarah decorate the house and prepare the food for the party. However, she made snide comments and gave me looks every time I did anything that was not perfect in her opinion, making me feel uncomfortable and unwelcome. As the guests started to arrive, it only got worse. I tried to socialize and engage with everyone, but it was hard to enjoy the party with Sarah's negativity hanging over me. When it was time for dinner, Sarah realized that she had forgotten the blueberry toppings on Mac's birthday cake. She immediately blamed me for not reminding her, even though I had no knowledge of it. I could sense that the other guests were starting to pick up on the tension in the room. I decided to take a step back and try to calm down, joking about the whole situation to lighten up the mood. I could see how the family tried to laugh along and ignore the ticking bomb that was Sarah's temper. Sarah ran into the kitchen with the cake, trying to come up with a solution to replace the toppings. I was after her and wanted to help, but as soon as the two of us were in the kitchen together, Sarah couldn't hold back her built up resentment towards me. "Stop it, Mary! You're only making things worse." "Calm down. We can figure this out together. You don't have to be mad about something so silly." "Silly? You know Mac loves blueberry. How could you call it silly?" "I mean, it's just toppings, right? It's fine. I'm sure he wouldn't even notice." "Oh, really? Of course you would say so. You had never wanted to be more helpful. I always have to do everything." "Excuse me? I really don't appreciate it. I was here to help you all afternoon." "And what did you manage to do without me, really? You left me to care for Mac alone in the last few months. Do you know how hard that has been on me, on my career?" "What? I didn't know that." "Of course, you didn't know. You didn't care. You left us alone with our own devices. You are such a selfish, terrible grandmother." "What?" "You don't get to talk to me like that. I cannot let that pass." "No, you don't talk to me like that. You don't even care. Get out of here." At that point, Sarah did something completely unimaginable. With the cake readily in her hands, she shouted at the top of her lungs and threw the cake in my face. I was completely taken aback, shocked, and humiliated. The other guests heard the sounds of me squeaking, so some of our family members ran inside to check on us. I was still too stunned to speak or even move. Sarah, on the other hand, was completely out of control. "You deserve that. You deserve that for having ruined this day for us." At that moment, the only thought I had was, poor Mac didn't get the party he deserved. I felt terrible that his special day had been ruined because of our argument. I quickly cleaned myself up and apologized to everyone for the scene that had unfolded. I knew that I had to leave the party immediately. I didn't want to ruin Mac's birthday any further. I left the house feeling angry, hurt, and embarrassed. David and Emily both followed me, but I sent David back. As much as I was mad at Sarah, I knew it was the right thing for David to stay. Emily, on the other hand, remained with me. As we walked down the street, I couldn't help but think about how Sarah had treated me. It was clear that our relationship had deteriorated beyond repair. It felt like Emily could sense how confused, disappointed, and sad I was because she didn't speak a word during the whole way home. But she held my hands and gave me the most comforting looks. The next day, David called me to apologize for Sarah's behavior and to express his disappointment in her. He assured me that he would talk to her and that she would apologize to me. However, I knew that I needed time to heal from the hurt that she had caused me. Plus, he might also be a part of the problem. I confronted David and asked him if he had been pushing all the responsibilities to his wife. That was the only reasonable answer to Sarah's behavior, or so I thought. David's answer surprised me even more. It turned out that he had been doing most of the work since I was gone. "I've been working longer hours than usual. I'm still picking up Mac from daycare and doing all the grocery shopping, cooking, laundry, and cleaning." That sounds like a lot of work. What about Sarah? Can't she help out? "Well, she works too, but her hours are a bit shorter than mine. She says she's too tired to do anything when she gets home." That doesn't sound fair. You're doing all the work and she's not helping out at all. I know it's been tough, but I don't want to argue about it with her. I don't want to complain about it with you either. David, you need to think about yourself too. The way Sarah had been treating me is also unacceptable, and I'm not just talking about today. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. How long has this been going on? She had been more and more annoyed with me during the 2 years that I was with you two. I'm sorry. I didn't even know. Was she the reason why you left to live with Emily? To be honest, yes. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Mom. Thank you for saying that, but I think there's a bigger problem at hand now. What do you mean? Well, Sarah's attitude was not the only thing that I was unhappy with. I found out that Sarah has been trying to sell the house.
What? Has she? How did you find out?
I overheard a conversation. I tried talking to her, but she denied everything. I didn't know if it was something you wanted to.
No, Mom, of course not. That was your house. That was Dad's house too.
Listen, I have a very bad feeling about this. Just try to figure it out and be careful, okay?
Okay, Mom.
A few days later, David called me again and asked for my help in finding a good divorce lawyer. It turned out that he had secretly looked through Sarah's documents and journals and found out that Sarah had indeed been trying to sell the house herself and attempted to run away from her own family with the money. David was completely heartbroken. He didn't know how to process it, but it all made sense to me at that point. Sarah never wanted to be a wife or mother. That was why she was always so harsh on me. Deep down, she just didn't want to be in my place. She never should have married David or had Mac, but for some reason she chose to. Now she's making both of them suffer from her own selfishness. I was so sad and enraged, but there was nothing I could do. I could only comfort David and tell him that everything would eventually be fine. David knew that he had to do what was best for their family. He filed for divorce and sued Sarah for attempting to sell the house without his consent. The legal proceedings were long and exhausting, but David was determined to get justice for his family. In the end, the court ruled in David's favor. Sarah was ordered to pay back the money she had tried to take from the sale of the house, and she was forbidden to see Mac for the next few years. Fortunately, David was a strong man, and even though he was left to pick up the pieces and try to move on with his life, he was grateful for the support of his family and friends. David remained committed to being the best father he could be for Mac. Soon after the divorce, David and Mac moved to Emily's neighborhood, just so I could take care of them both. We all wanted to give Mac a sense of stability and normalcy, despite everything that had happened. Emily also offered to help out whenever she could. She would often come over to spend time with Mac and help out around the house. One day, Emily brought one of her friends, Christine, over to the house. Christine was funny, kind, and easy to talk to, and David found himself really enjoying her company. They hit it off right away, and soon they were spending more and more time together. At first, David was hesitant to get involved with anyone after his divorce, but he couldn't deny the connection he felt with Christine. David was surprised at how quickly things had progressed, but he was happy. Christine also formed a strong bond with Mac, and they would often go on adventures together as family. Christine was good for our family, and I felt like he was finally moving on from the pain of his divorce. And so, after so many ups and downs, we finally got the happy ending that we all deserved.